and all that good stuff. And we'll talk obviously about the music.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, let's see here. Got a gazillion windows open. The notes. Okay, so the biggest thing to know is this is episode 2364 and is Monday a holiday of any kind? No, it's October though. All right, here we go. People will dribble in here. All right. Welcome to episode 2364 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend, and it's time to kick off that first work week here in October. That's right. Hope you enjoyed Friday's podcast. Got you kind of in that Halloween feel. We tried to dig deep and find some spooky places around Walt Disney World and try to have a little fun with that. But today, we're going to have a fun trip report. We're heading out to sea on one of my favorite ships, the Disney Wonder. We're going to talk a little Run Disney as well, Disneyland, and why the music is essential to all Disney trips and how the Disney 100 celebration could just as well be a celebration of the music as well as the movies. So to do that, we have a fun guest today out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Kate's joining us from her home studio. Kate, happy Monday. How's it going?
Happy Monday, Mike. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. This is just such a fun thing. I listen a lot and I love Disney. So I'm excited to talk a little Disney today.
Glad to have somebody from the western side of the country out there. And so give us a little backstory on your Disney fandom. How did it start for you? And, finding yourself listening to the show and, where did it all begin?
Yeah. So being in Utah, we have a fall break that growing up was part of the Utah Educators Association. So everybody would kind of flood to Disneyland during fall, and October was just the perfect time to be there anyway. So growing up with my dad, he would take us to Disneyland. He was the fun dad. And we had, I realized that he's my age, that when he took us, I'm the same age that he was, and he went on everything. He was on every roller coaster. I mean, it was Space Mountain all day long. I mean, it was so fun. So I really got that from my dad and my siblings, and we had such good memories there. So I started taking my kids when they were really little to Disneyland. My husband kind of came on board, and now he loves it. My brother moved to Florida probably 10, 12 years ago. And so we started going to Disney World a little bit more often because I had a niece and nephew out there. And once my kids were big enough to kind of tackle the bigger Disney World, we just started going out there too. So I feel like I kind of do coast to coast a lot. And this last year, we just went on a Disney cruise. And so we were just starting to really explore all the fun that Disney has to offer. And it's great.
So today we're going to dive into, basically, we're going to talk about your first Disney cruise that you took at the beginning of this year on the Disney Wonder out of San Diego. So we're going to dive into that. We're also going to talk about a Disneyland trip, which is going to be real fun because you got to see Rogers the Musical, which is rumored to be coming back, I believe, beginning of next year, possibly. I've seen rumblings. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. But you had really a banner year. Yeah, last year, as far as Disney trips, I think it was more circumstances from like what I was reading in your notes, as far as like your children participating in events. You're a runner. You're in Club Run Disney, so you run the races. So that a lot of our listeners are lizards. They run with us. So if you are somebody who runs the races, typically it'll get you down there at World in January, February, April. And then November for the races. If you do all 4 weekends at World, now we got January again in Disneyland coming up this year. So just tell us about how that year was, because I think we all maybe have a year like that. I had a year like that a few years back, just because of circumstances with Mallory's cheerleading. I did all the races that one year. How did that all come together, and what was that like, especially with you, because you're not really, I guess you're close to Disneyland, but still, I mean, a long way from World.
It's long. Yeah. So our cruise is actually a COVID pandemic reboot, so we stuck that into when we could go. My husband is a CPA, and so tax deadlines make a big difference on when he can go with us. And so January just worked out perfectly. And I was already signed up for Princess Weekend. So I went again the next month with my husband. He did the half marathon with me. That was his first Run Disney half marathon or race of any kind. So he's a runner too, but he's not the crazy Run Disney person that I am. And my oldest daughter was graduating from high school, and she was going to come on Princess Weekend, but she was in a musical. And so we kind of redid her trip, and it ended up being the end of March, spilling into April. So we went with her best friend. So that was really fun to do just a trip with my senior. And then we ended up, when Rogers the Musical was announced, we thought, oh, we have to go. I absolutely love Disney musicals. It's a really fun entertainment. I love the Hyperion. I think that theater over at California Adventure is just awesome. And so we thought, all right, we have a little break in July that we could head down there really quick for just a 2-day park day, and we'll get Rogers the Musical. So we just decided to do that. And then of course we're going for Boogie Boogie Bash in a couple of weeks, because we've never done. And doing this many trips to Disneyland kind of pushed us into the annual pass realm. And I thought, if we're going to ever do it, we're going to do it this year, because I have 2 kids that are actually dancing in the parade at Disneyland in November. So we just had all this stuff back to back. And so it was so great to just be, you do your Disney math, and it's like, oh, well, it will just be so much more to our advantage to get the annual pass. And so now we're just going to go a lot, because I'm going again in January for the half marathon. So it really has been an awesome, we just feel really lucky to just be able to go. And it's so fun. My kids are great at the parks. I feel like I've been training them since they were 1 or so. So I was that person who was like, yes, I'm taking all my kids to the park all the time. And they're good at it. This year, I let my oldest daughter just be in charge. She runs it all. She runs all the Disney Plus. She plans the rides. And now I used to be the planner, and now I'm along for the ride. It's hilariously fun when you just kind of step back and let your kids do it. It's just great. And I'm there to buy churros.
I would love to have that role. I wish Mallory would take that over. My oldest daughter, she's doing her own thing up in Chicago now. So half the time she's too busy to even travel with us. So she went on a cruise, because of course she's like, it's a cruise. I'm going on the cruise. Yeah. Expensive. I was like, if you back out, we save a couple grand, but she didn't back out of that. That's how that is.
And we're kind of jumping into that, where my oldest daughter just started college, and I've got, every kid is 2 years behind that. So we're just going to have it's going to start to get to be really hard. So I think we took advantage of this year where we can kind of all be together as a family, and Disney is perfect for that. You have great family memories. And the cruise, it was our first cruise as a family. We went on one earlier with our daughter's dance studio, just, probably 6 years ago now. So I had done a Caribbean cruise, but never Disney. So this was our first Disney and our first family cruise with the boys and my husband. So I have 4 kids, which kind of complicates things when you're planning Disney, because 6 people don't fit in a room. So we had to actually get 2 staterooms. So we put the boys on one side and the girls on the other side, and it was still really fun, but costly. So we probably won't do it very often if we all go together, because it's double what it would cost everybody else. So, but that 4th kid was worth it. I like to say
exactly.
It's worth it. And he's the one. So I asked all the kids what their favorite part of the cruise was, and my youngest one is 11, and he said it was the musical. They did Frozen, and he was in his school production of Frozen Junior. He was Oaken. He was so awesome. Oaken gets his own song in that one, but they did the musical Frozen on the ship, and the actor that plays Olaf, he's actually a puppeteer, and I was so impressed with the theater part of it all. That was kind of his favorite part, was seeing Olaf, I think, as a puppet. And the guy who plays Olaf is incredible. He did a little a Q&A the next day in one of the lounges, and we got to meet him and listen to his story and get the whole act on the, and it was just, loved it. It was just one of those cool, unique Disney experiences on the ship that you probably wouldn't get anywhere else. So it was fun.
Yeah. Because, I'm somebody who, I was never into theater or anything like that. I was always, sports guy, played sports through high school and stuff like that. But I enjoy watching shows. But when I go on a cruise, and I've been on many Disney cruises at this point, the thing that amazes me is how they take this one theater and use it for multiple performances throughout a sailing, and just how they can have so many different sets and how technical it can be with the lighting configurations. And like one night it's Little Mermaid, and then the next night it can be, the Golden Mickeys, with all the costumes. Like, how versatile. I'm more into the technical aspects of how they put this stuff on at sea, and not to mention, because we're going to talk about this in a second when we get to break down a little bit of day by day on your cruise. Like, the ship is moving, what I'm saying? And like, there's dance numbers going on, and, sometimes there's aerobatics, people will be, like swinging from, like Tarzan. There's a Tarzan a piece in one of the musicals I saw on one of the ships. I can't remember, but he's like swinging from a big, like Lanuba kind of like rope thing. Dude, the ship was rocking. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could, the audience going back and forth, and like he's like swinging from a rope. I'm like, this is all kinds of wild when you actually think about it. But you think you're like on a, you're sitting on Main Street, USA, watching this on land. We're at sea on rough seas, and this guy's just like, no problem, singing along, like no problem at all. Like, you got to stop and think, these people are dancing along and the ship's rocking, when the show's over and everybody gets up to go up the aisles, like people are just, like we can't even get out of the theater. It's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a West Coast thing that this was a particularly rocky voyage. I don't know if it was the time of year. So it's January, which was absolutely, the weather was beautiful, but I've got to say that the ship was moving. So we don't worry about being seasick or anything like that. That doesn't really affect us. But they had people flying on stage. They had all kinds. It was just incredible and I think really they're experts at the spectacle of it all. It feels top notch. It's Broadway on the ocean. So it really was a great thing. We were running on the ship, and when I was on the deck, there's this really great wooden deck on the Disney Wonder, and you'd be running, but it would feel like you're running uphill because of the wave. And then when you went down, it would almost feel like your feet would drop out from below. Like, you're like, where's the ground? It was wild. It was a really wild run. So it was fun. I kind of was laughing the whole time, because of trying to run on the waves is what it felt like.
I love running. That's what I missed about the Wish, because the Wish doesn't have a complete running track, so I had to run on the treadmill every morning, which I hate. I'm a treadmill guy, but I love running deck 4 on the other ships. And like you say, it's got a kind of most of the time on the Disney Cruise Line ships, I'm just telling you, they're flat as a pancake. You don't have that, but I have a couple times. If you run like on the day you're coming back into port, because usually that's when the ships usually going the fastest, because they're trying to get back into port like by a certain time. And that was also when that sailing was happening. It was the last night of the cruise. They were hauling like through the Gulf Stream. So that's why normally the ship doesn't move at all, but we were just in those circumstances. But like you say, and also when you're running, if you run early in the morning when the sun's coming up, like you run on one side of the ship and it's kind of dark, and then you go around the corner and like you see a sunrise and you go back, it's dark, for a few laps. It's like, God, it's awesome. Like, you kind of feel like an astronaut, like on the International Space Station or something, like a little sunrise, a little dark, for a couple laps. Stupid, but it's fun. So, so let me just ask you this though about practical stuff. So I'll make sure like we get all this things. We got tons to talk about, but you guys had to break up into 2 staterooms. How did the stateroom situation work out for like a family of 6 where you had to do that? Was it okay? Would you do anything differently?
No, I liked it a lot. The kids were all under 18 at the time, so we had to have an adult in each room, and it was actually kind of fun to be with my 2 girls. So my oldest at the time was 17, and my other daughter's 15, and so it was really great. It felt like we had plenty of space. we all slept really well. We had veranda rooms, of course, because who even goes in those inside rooms? I don't know. I love being inside.
You gotta be careful though. You get one of those, because I've done them a couple times, man. You could sleep till noon in those suckers, because I mean they are dark as a dungeon. There's no light in those things. I mean, it could be midnight, it could be 12 noon. You would not know. Those things are dangerous for sleeping. Just saying.
Well, and I slept really well on the cruise anyway. I was rocked to sleep. It was fantastic. I feel like I sleep better at Disney, whether it's at a Disney hotel or on a Disney cruise. There is something about that amazing night's sleep that is just great.
Yeah, so. Except the night before the full marathon. Then I don't sleep a wink when I need to. I'm always like, I'm going to miss my alarm. And God, I would love to miss that alarm, actually, so I wouldn't have to run 26 miles. Just not during doping.
You'd miss it. Like you'd miss it. I know. You would miss it. And you know what? One thing I thought about is with the Run Disney thing is the music there too. You know, like it's incredible. You can. I don't think I'd want to miss that early morning party that they have. It's such a great, inspiring moment, you know, and they have different songs for every corral, you know, every start, they've got a different little theme song, and they're all the Disney songs. I mean, it's just so fun. Yeah.
John Pelkey and everybody's jokes. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Gotta have them.
Yeah, it's a great time. So you wouldn't want to miss that marathon.
We'll see. My knees want to, but we'll see. I'm still arguing with them. Okay, so you mentioned the shows were a highlight. How about the dining on the Wonder? How did you find that? Because I haven't been on the Wonder since I went on a Caribbean cruise, probably it's probably been 10 years almost. About Mallory was smaller.
I think it's the oldest ship. It's the oldest ship, right? It's like 25 years old.
No, the Magic's the oldest ship, but
Magic's the oldest ship. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was great. We had Tiana's place, which was really fun. It's a live band. So again, the music is great. My oldest son, he said that was his favorite thing was Tiana's, because they come out and they sing during dinner. It's fabulous. And then they have Animator's Palette, which is really cute too. That's a really fun one. So we were able to do all the dining, and I mean, it's great. My one daughter is a total foodie, so she loved the variety on the ship. She absolutely loved it. And then my youngest son is super picky, so it's, you know, he's probably like your girls, chicken nuggets, French fries, and they'll, you know, your servers are great. It was a fantastic dining experience. So.
You know, that is a great thing about cruise. You ever done a cruise? Like, if you have a picky eater, it's awesome, because you can send them to like Pluto's Snack Shack or whatever it is on that ship. You know, in the Dream and the Fantasy, it's like Flo's V8 Cafe on the back of the ship. You know, sandwiches, pizza slices, hot dogs, hamburgers. You know, plain if you want them, whatever. You know, so but then you could have fancy foods. You know, up in Cabanas or Blanket or whatever, Topsiders, whatever, you know, the buffet is. So that's fun. You did something too that was interesting. In one of your ports, you mentioned luxury sail and snorkel. You said worth every penny. This might be something to mention for folks that are doing this West Coast out of San Diego sailing.
Yeah. So West Coast, I mean, there's no Disney private island, so I think it really is worth getting an excursion. And of course, we waited such a long time to do this cruise that we were ready for the splurge. And so we went out on a sailboat. There were probably 12 passengers on this open bow sailboat, and we went snorkeling. You know, we went probably 45 minutes to a really amazing place to do snorkeling, and just beautiful water in Cabo. I mean, it's just fantastic. And then on the way back is when they really opened it up, and we sailed, and the boat would tilt. You know, they were like sailing, you sail sideways basically. And so we were almost up standing vertical as we were laying down on the boat. We were tilted a little bit, and it's huge adrenaline rush. And my kids loved it. My husband loved it. I mean, it was worth it. It was just thrilling to sail out in the middle of the ocean. It was a lot of fun. And, you know, they gave us lunch. The food was amazing. And we saw whales while we were out there. It was just this amazing I love being out on the water anyway. I like swimming out in the ocean and being out in the water. It was fantastic. So it took, it was the early morning. We left where, there were 12 people on the boat. So we were half the boat, there's 6 of us. So it was there were just a couple other people like hanging
It
out
was
with us. So
Kate's
it
crew
almost,
and Kate's crew
yeah,
with two others.
it almost felt kind of like a private excursion. So it was really a lot of fun. And, you know, our captain was amazing, and his first mate was like the DJ. So they played a lot of music on the boat. So it was really well worth it. And then we just got right back on the ship. It took the whole day. So it was awesome. So we didn't really explore Cabo. We just explored the ocean around Cabo. And so it was really a lot of fun.
Like, I mean, I want to be in the ocean too. Like, I mean, I'm landlocked in Missouri. I just want to see the ocean. I want to be in the ocean, you know, because I just don't ever. People live, you know, in like Carolina or, you know, Georgia, where you can drive to the ocean. They're always kind of like, you know, it's like, no, man, I'm like, I never get to see the ocean. Like, water to me is the Mississippi River, and it's brown and gross. You know, like you just drive over it on the bridge, and the highlight of that, you get to go to Illinois. Buh, who cares? You know, like I want to be out in that ocean, man. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And like that's it. I want to play. And I think I've seen that on the Amazing Race, those boats that kind of tip up like that. That looks wild. Like, you know what? Sign me up. I mean, as long as I know they're not gonna kill me. Like, I guess you guys had like life vests on and stuff. I mean, no. Oh my God.
They could probably give you one if you're uncomfortable with it. Yeah, my two boys sat back in the back of the boat with the captain, in back of the sailboat with the captain. So they were on benches, but we were seriously on the bow of the ship, almost vertical at that point. So
anything goes. I've also been on a boat between Nassau and Paradise Island where I know there were way too many people. I'm just saying. I was like, that boat is saying, this put another person on. This boat is not going to float. I'm just saying, like, but we were not in the States.
So it was an adventure, you know, and with teenagers, I mean, my kids they're like 12, 14, 16, and 18. They're ready for that kind of stuff. So it was perfect. It was the perfect adventure for them. So totally unforgettable. It's probably definitely my husband's favorite part. My favorite part was this short excursion.
See, and, you know, that's how I'm getting older, because I didn't never even check for life vests like 10 years ago. Like that would never popped into my head. Now I'm like, life vests? I gotta stop this. So one of the other things you did, because one of my favorite parts of a Disney cruise, Paulo, your husband and yourself got to just let the kids fend for themselves for a couple hours, right? Went up to Paulo, or did you have for dinner, or what'd you do?
Yeah, we did brunch. We did brunch. And
that's a pro move right there. Brunch is the best.
I was kind of secretly glad my oldest was not 18, because she would have interrupted our nice romantic date, you know, because and I would have said, yeah, come with us. But it was a really,
my daughter comes with us. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, Paige comes with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and our server was so cute that she kept suggesting, well, here, try this, and here, try this. They just kept bringing us food. It was amazing. It's probably one of the best waffles I've ever had. And yeah, it was spectacular. So yeah, I wouldn't have passed up on that.
So I mean, is this something you guys are looking? Let me just say too, just for folks that are listening, because we don't talk much about the Wonder out of San Diego. If you're thinking about taking a Disney cruise, just here's putting on my travel agent hat for just 1 second. This is an itinerary that Disney Cruise Line will aggressively discount and have really good rates. So if you're ever wanting to get on a Disney Cruise Line ship and give it a shot, and you're based out of, you know, somewhere like west of the Rockies, where you can get over there pretty easily, I'm telling you, this is a good itinerary to take. I mean, you guys have a good time, but I mean, this is one of the ones, it's a lot less expensive than sailing out of Port Canaveral. You can really kind of get your feet wet. It's a terrible pun, but
we had a great time. I'm glad we did that for our first cruise, for sure. And, you know, it does, the Wonder goes up to Alaska in the summer, and then it's in Cabo for the winter. And oh my gosh, January, you know, kind of when you're in the lull after Christmas, it's just the perfect time to go. It was just amazing. So we cut back on our Christmas a little bit, and we splurged in January, and it honestly was the best thing to look forward to at the beginning of the year. It was amazing. One thing was the harbor there in San Diego. We stayed, there's a Marriott right across from the Disney port. So we stayed at the hotel right across the street. We drove from Utah. And so we parked our car there, and we actually paid a little extra to let the keep our car in their parking garage, and that was well worth it because we just walked off the ship the last day and walked across the street with our luggage, grabbed our car, and left. It was the smoothest, easiest thing. So if you want to go into San Diego and maybe stay a couple days, I'd suggest staying across the street at the Residence Inn by Marriott, because we got to see the ship pull in early in the morning, right outside our hotel window. We could see it, and that got my kids so excited.
Doesn't they get you so jazzed though? Because like I've done the same thing staying at Port Canaveral. We've stayed at Cocoa Beach, and like you see the ship coming in, and like, oh, tomorrow we're on that ship. And so we've had dinner at a place called Fish Lips. It's right at Port Canaveral. It's like you're looking at the ship, like, oh, tomorrow night or tomorrow morning, we're getting on that ship. There's such an excitement and anticipation. It's even more than going to like Walt Disney World or Disneyland. For a cruise, for me, it's like amped up times 10. I guess because you can actually see it come in and go out. Like there's a manifestation of it moving in, moving out kind of thing, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But you also, real quick, you guys said you spent a day in San Diego and you had a great time. Scott, I swear, Scott thinks he's like adopted San Diego as his second hometown. He loves going to San Diego, so much so that when he goes to Disneyland now, he flies into San Diego so that he can just kind of be down there for like a day and just go around. He's got a favorite Mexican place that Monkey Man Jonathan Ramirez from Canada has told him about, to get tortillas and all this. He just loves. He wears one of those San Diego Padre alternate jerseys that's so ugly that bright pastel colors. I hate that thing, but he wore it on the cruise, the podcasters. But he loves San Diego. He's always raving. I've not been to San Diego yet, but I mean, you said the same thing. Just a great place to explore if you're going to do
it. Is. Yeah. So we went to Old Town San Diego, which we hadn't been before. I have ancestors that helped build San Diego. So, we did a little family history digging and fun things like that with San Diego. But we, when our kids were really little, we'd take them to Legoland. So that's a really fun place. But your kids have to be kind of in this golden age of like between 5 and 10 years old to really love Legoland. I mean, we love Legos still, but that's something that you don't want to miss if you're going into San Diego and you've never been there. If you've got a family, and they do amazing Halloween stuff at Legoland. It's kind of fun. So there are some really great things to do in San Diego, and the weather is just incredible. It's you talk so much about Florida and how hot everything is. No,
man, it's so hot. This year was just like took the cake. I mean, this year, it wasn't just hot. It was like, it was trying to kill you hot. Like it was just, man, it was that way in St. Louis though too. Like I couldn't escape it this year. Like it's a wonder that I made it to the fall. I'm just glad I'm still with us at this point. But you did hot take though. You said there's a better churro in San Diego than Disneyland. Now that's
in Old Town.
You gotta be careful. You're talking to a Disney audience here. Now we're getting ready to talk Disneyland here next. So hot take.
Well, and I try every churro. I love churros at Disneyland. And I have to tell you that if you go to Old Town San Diego, there is a place that they make churros, and it's the best churro I've ever had. So don't just pass that up either. Yeah.
I had to throw it in there because every good podcaster has to have one hot take per episode. So I had to hit my hit the quota. Okay, Annabelle. Okay, so let's talk about going to Disneyland. You did this in July, so just a couple months back again to see Rogers the Musical, because you mentioned you enjoy the Hyperion Theater and you're into musicals and all that. Mm-hmm. So, but you want to save some money, so you didn't stay on site this time. You stayed at the Best Western across the street. So talk to our, because we got a lot of Florida, Walt Disney World listeners, and a lot of folks are going out to Disneyland for the first time, just like I did last year. Tell us what that's like staying off site, but right across the street. What was that like? How'd you feel about that?
Oh, it's fine. I gotta say, I love staying on property. I stayed at all 3 of the hotels, and they're amazing. If you're my kids now are let's rope drop to close, and so we don't spend a lot of time over the hotel. We really just need a place to crash, and we crash hard now, so we don't stop in the middle of the day and even go take a break or anything like that. So we don't spend much time at the hotel, so we really just need a place to sleep. So there's a couple really good ones. I love staying at the Marriott across the street, and it almost feels closer than walking from the Disneyland Hotel. I mean, it is close.
That's
So
crazy. Because
yeah,
because I've only stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, and that's, I mean,
yeah.
because I'm a world guy, right? I'm like, God, this is so close. Because like I'm even saying at Pop Century where it takes 20 minutes by bus. Like I'm just like, I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Best Western is right at the side at the crosswalk. So honestly, you walk out your hotel room and you cross the street. I mean, you can't get closer. You really can't get any closer to Disneyland than right there, I think. But I'd prefer the Grand Californian. We've stayed there before too, and honestly, nothing beats that entrance into California Adventure. I mean, it's just there's nothing better than that. But I can't. I mean, obviously, I'm going way too much to Disneyland, so we're just kind of mixing it up a little bit. So.
No. We're getting that question a lot for the race weekend, right? Like, because for one thing, everything's filling up like fast, and there's not a lot left. So we're looking at, good neighbor hotels. And again, with races and logistics and how tired you're going to be, I think a lot of people are going to have to look at like, okay, this time you might not need to stay at Disneyland Hotel or Grand California. And you might want to look at, like Scott's saying, at the Fairfield. That's his like go-to good neighbor hotel. Now I'm booked. I'm an idiot. I'm booked at the Disneyland Hotel because I love it. Like that's the only place I've ever stayed. My 2 times there. I'm staying at the Villas, one of the deluxe studios, to try that out. Now, do I need to do that? Am I going to stay there? I'm booked there. I might switch out. I'm having this internal conflict every day.
So I ran the Tinkerbell half back in 2015. I think was the last time I ran in Disneyland, and we stayed at the Howard Johnson, which is across the street, but a little further. Closer to I-5, it's a little further down the street, so it's a little more of a walk. It was fine on the race day. It's you want to walk a little bit at the end anyway, but it's nowhere near like Disney World. Walking back to your hotel, it's
like it. Seriously, I will be fine, but I don't know. I got that world thing in me on site. Like I don't need that. I just gotta get that barrier out of my head. But we'll see. Okay, so getting into the trip, though, I want to jump into this. You didn't make any reservations for dining. You just kind of came to stuff as you went. You did Pim's Kitchen, it says here. You did Flo's. Pim's Kitchen, though, is a cute little place over in Adventures Campus at DCA. We ate there, too, when we went there last July. It's cute. Good food and kind of it's visually appealing with the small and the big.
Yeah, we have to get that big pretzel every time. just share it.
Yeah. And I can't remember what I got, but something had like a little fork, and some of the stuff was teeny tiny.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Pim's Test Kitchen is great. We don't usually get ADRs. I mean, we've eaten at probably all of the places by now with me taking my kids. So when we go, we really there's so many different like options now that if you don't want to do dining reservations, or if it's too hard to get, sometimes there's so few options inside the parks now that ADRs are hard, so you really can get some great food in California without having to have an ADR. So a lot of times we won't even do that at all. Now this last trip was what kind of pushed us over the edge to get annual passes. And so I'm really excited to try there's like a magic key holder terrace for annual passes only. So that's probably the only ADR that we'll get in the coming year. But everything else, if I could do Blue Bayou all the time, I would.
This place is so good. The Monte Cristo and a hurricane. That's the win right there. Oh man, so good.
Yeah, so it's good. But really, I mean, we're snacking a lot. There's always some kind of, I'm excited for all the Halloween options. I'm excited for the Christmas options. You don't go hungry even if you don't have an ADR.
No way.
Yeah.
I like the Hungry Bear too. I don't know why. I just like the atmosphere of it. It's chicken sandwich, but the chicken sandwich tastes so stinking good. I think because I was like at Disneyland and I was in Frontierland. I was like, I'm in my happy place. Chicken sandwich.
Well, and we'll do I'm excited for the new San Francisco to open. That's usually where we would eat. We'd go, it used to, just be all of the California options right there to when it wasn't so Disney themed everywhere. And that we'd eat there every time. So I'm excited to try that in our next trip, but it wasn't open in July. So, but Rogers the Musical was.
well, actually we were there the July previous and we ate there. I think I had a sourdough bowl with like clam chowder or something in it in July. Like, I mean, but here I was. I don't care. I love that stuff. Like, I
No,
tore it
that
up.
was perfect.
Should you be eating that in July in a theme park? Absolutely not. But there I was, and it was good. So had to give it a shot. So now let's talk about that Rogers the musical, because that's why you were there. This primary focus. You did the VIP experience for this. So what did that entail? And tell us about that, because again, like I said, I thought I saw that they're possibly bringing this back.
Yeah, so we rope dropped it because we wanted to make sure that we were able to get it. It was honestly, I think it was like $100 per person. So there were 5 of us, so that was a little pricey. But we're like, okay, this isn't going to be here very long. Let's just try it. So we had great early access. One thing that wasn't so great in July was they gave us like a lounge out in front of the Hyperion Theater with just couches and umbrellas, and you can kind of take your time and come and go. But it was so hot that you just didn't want to sit outside. I mean, there really weren't. It was hot. It was July, and we decided to buy the show for like the 1:45 show. I think they had like 4 shows a day, so we were right in the middle of the hot of the day. So we didn't really linger there, but they had some great picture opportunities, and we got a popcorn bucket and a drink and things like that. So I don't know that you would need to buy the VIP. I think by July, all of the seats there's not a bad seat at the Hyperion, but we did get early seating. So we got to sit, we were front and center. So our seats were amazing. But, if you're showing up, I think they had a virtual queue that you could do if you didn't want to do the VIP thing. And I think everybody who wanted to see the show got in the show. So we didn't really experience a lot of problems there, but the theater's big. So I think there's plenty of seating, and everybody who wanted to see it during the day could see it. So I hope they bring it back. It's a really fun experience. I remember being in that theater when they did Aladdin, and it was a fantastic musical. It was funny. They've just done really good shows in that theater. And so I wish, like, even if it's just in the summer, I wish there was a show going there when we're there. It's I think not everybody goes to Broadway. Not everybody will go to a musical when they're even touring in their towns. And so when they're at Disney, it's such a great little break because they kind of truncate the show to be shorter. It's only 20 minutes because they really want you out buying snacks and riding rides and doing other things, but it's such a great little break during the day, and it's entertaining. So I think there's really good value to stopping during the middle of your park day, especially like that 1:45 time when you're tired, like we were. And it was kind of the perfect time to do that. So.
Well, and you mentioned this, I think it's like there's so many ways that this is a win to have something in that theater going all the time, right? Especially at Disney's California Adventure. The parks, basically in Hollywood and Anaheim, where you probably have an abundance of talented performers, and people that are wanting to make their mark, that would be very willing to try to get the exposure and perform. And you have a very deep talent pool. So I bet you those shows are amazing. And plus, you're going to have a lot of folks. I know it's a locals park, but I still think, from what I'm seeing in my line of work and from what I'm doing personally, I know that it's a locals park, but I think Disneyland is being more, over the last 5 to 10 years, probably, it's expanding to people like me, coming from Missouri. I think it's becoming more of a nationally, accessible park. People are going there, not just in Southern California anymore. People are going there from around the country. And, like I'm not a musicals person, but if I'm in that park, like you say, in July and it's hot, I might go in there, just like you say, it's hot, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, it's something to do, it's open, and I could be exposed to, Rogers the Musical. I don't know what that's about, watch it. And then I'm exposed to, this Marvel property. I've never seen a Marvel movie in my life, but, I think it's funny. I go home, I watch it, oh, that's cool, and then all of a sudden I'm hooked into this whole Marvel universe, and they got me for, 50 movies and all, all the stuff that goes. There's just so many ways that I think that, and that's what Disney does. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about as we kind of wrap this up, was that one of the hooks in your email was that you come from a very musical family. Obviously, you said your kids love the musicals. I'm looking at you right now in the video. You're in your studio where you teach music, and you have violins on the wall. I mean, it's beautiful. Like your studio, I can see it. And one of the things you said in the email was that the celebration that Disney's doing with Disney 100 is basically the 100 years of Disney animation and the Disney movies. but you think it could just as well be 100 years of Disney music, starting with Steamboat Willie. And that really stuck with me when I read the email, because if you take away the music from all these animated shorts and all these movies and musicals, and even things like illuminations at the parks, like those fireworks without the music, Wishes without the music, even PhilharMagic without a score, or It's a Small World without that song. I mean, you're left with something that is far less than what the whole, you just don't have anything without the music. And when you said that, it is just stuck with me that we should be celebrating the music just as much as the animation in the movies. And so I just wanted to speak to that for a minute, because I haven't heard it said that way. And I think it could not be more true.
Well, and I think that's really what sets Disney apart from other entertainment companies or theme parks or whatever. It really is the music, whether it's the background loop, the Pirates. When you ride Pirates, it's like, oh, this is a musical experience, and your emotions and your love you kind of get attached to a lot of that stuff. It's why we just keep going back. It's why we all love Disney. It's why when you're sitting there watching the fireworks with your son or your daughter, and you just start to tear up, and the music gets you. It's great. It's a wonderful emotional experience, and Disney does it so well. So I think I've heard Pam talk about this a lot too on your podcast a lot, that because she knows a lot of the movies and the music and things like that. And my kids grew up with it. I grew up with it. My parents grew up with it at this point, that it really has been a fantastic musical experience, So I think it's why I'm okay with when, they announced that most everything's going to be IP, that they're just going to use a lot of the worlds that they've created. I think I'm okay with that, because Disney does have almost this arsenal of characters and songs that they could put in with everything, even when you're not, you can ride something like the Incredicoaster and not really pay attention, but the music that's happening in the background in just that ride, I think is phenomenal. I rode it when it was California Screamin', and it did have a song with it, kind of like the Rock and Roller Coaster in Florida. But now with the Incredibles soundtrack, I mean, all of the two movies for the Incredibles, that's what you think of, and you're attached to that, and you get so much more immersed in the fun of that just from the soundtrack. So I think that's one thing that Disney just does remarkably well. And so you get it on the cruise, you get it on the rides, you get it in the restaurants. There's always some kind of background loop happening, and it makes your theme park experience that much better. I can't go to other theme parks because I want that.
Yeah, and what it does too is, like, when you're at home, and I'm sure you're exactly like me. I mean, we used to have the radio station, Magical Mouse Radio, for years and years, where we played the music 24/7 until the licensing and all that got changed by Congress. And, you hear a track and it takes you immediately to a memory, like I would hear Illuminations and it would take me to this night standing in Norway in 1999 at the Millennium Celebration. It wasn't just, oh, that song's coming on, is that one part, like the pre-illuminations, and like I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes me back to this like time and place. And I think the theme park music really does that, takes you to, oh yeah, this is from then. You heard it probably 100 times on many trips, but a lot of times it takes you back to a time and a place and a specific memory. But you're so true about the movies and stuff too. But there's a couple songs that I really hit home with me. As a runner, I bet it's true for you. Whenever I hear the song Go the Distance from Hercules, I mean, like, I'm an emotional dude. I try not to be that way on the show, but if you know me, like, if you're around me a lot, I mean, I can't hold it back on that song. And that song comes on during any of the fireworks shows. Like, I think it's in Happily Ever After. I know it was in Enchantment. Dude, I'm a mess. Like, every time I hear that song, that tears me up. Mallory makes fun of me every time. She's like, Dad, there's your song. You're going to cry. I'm like, stop. Just stop. Because it's just so true. Like, it's, you just want to make it. And there's a song that used to be in World of Color. And I never got to see World of Color, the original show back in the day, but I love the soundtrack because we used to play it on the radio station. And there's a song called So Close. And I think it's from Enchanted. Does that sound right? The movies? Because I remember watching that with the girls. It was kind of like half cartoon, half like action.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like Cinderella Come to Life in New York or something?
It's mostly live action. There's a little cartoon at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotta get you to watch more movies, Mike.
I know, but I do remember watching that with Paige when she was little. But there was there's a song in there called "So Close," and like we'd play it on the station, and it's like just the story. Like it's such a good song. Like it's an obscure song. You don't hear it very often, but I have it on my phone, and it's just in my shuffle of a couple thousand songs. When it comes on, I'm just like, oh man, it tears you up. It's such a good song. But you're right. Like it's a celebration of, and it takes me back to watching that movie with Paige when she was little. It's it's a love story, but it's just one of those things. Like, God, man, music can wreck you. It can pump you up, like go the distance. It can empower you. It really does bring out the human emotion, and nobody does it like Disney in my book. It's great.
Right. And I think, Walt Disney knew that when he started with those early cartoons, and the music was top notch. And he made sure that there were, that he made a musical every time he made a cartoon. So I think that's been just the high point of Disney 100 for me is 100 years of music. It's just incredible. My students love it. I teach it to all my kids. I teach them Disney songs, and I think everybody just relates to it, and they all attach happy memories to it. And it's a great thing.
And that's what it's all about, really. I mean, it's about creating memories. And when you can come home with a souvenir of a memory, and then you get to relive it every time that song comes on the radio or on your phone, or you just encounter it again, 20 years down the line, like you said, I mean, you don't think about it at the time. You're going through the parks as a single person with your significant other. It's just you two. But then 25 years later, you might be taking, your grandkid, or 30 years later, your grandkids with you, and you hear that same song, and it's like, oh my gosh, I remember when. But it takes you right back. That's why music's awesome. And I'm glad you brought that up, because yes, I'm now going to think of it as 100 years of Disney music, as well as because it needs to be celebrated just right alongside, not below, not above, equal. That's exactly what it is. What a great show, Kate. I appreciate you taking the time, and man, you still have a lot of this year left, a lot of fun. So have fun down at Oogie Boogie Bash. That's going to be a blast. Yeah,
thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I love the trip reports, so I'm excited to do it.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the corrals too in January. If I make it through Dopey and a 1,000 or so mile plane ride after, I don't know what I'm thinking. Who scheduled all this stuff so close together? Like, whose idea was this? Do you know? Like, what?
No, runners are insane. So you're going to be awesome, Mike. You're going to feel so good. It's going to be amazing. You're going to get that coast to coast medal, and you're just going to love it. And then you'll be like, I could totally do this again.
God help whoever's sitting next to me on the plane, because I'll be going out there by myself, because it's at least 50-50. I get a Charlie horse on that plane, because I'll have run 48 miles and probably not drink enough water. And I'll be up there like, oh, because you can feel them coming on. I'll be like, oh no, don't scream and make this plane land somewhere like in Denver or something, because I'll be on the news. That'll be bad. But you'll be the first to know, because you'll be out there. No, Kate, thanks for taking the time. Really, what a fun trip report. I appreciate it. And have a great Halloween down in Disneyland.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Don't forget, our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure, whether it's the Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney. Just swing by the website today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our patrons. You guys make all these shows possible. We could not do this without you. And our patrons get that bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. If you'd like to join us, we'd sure love to have you. Come on over, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on social media at beourguestmike. Instagram, Twitter, X, and Threads this week. I'd love to talk to you over there. And Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, we are live with the BOGP open line. Scott joins me. We take your calls and have a good time for an hour. It's the show where you are in charge. So join us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. All right, we're going to get out of here and wish you a great week. So for Kate out in Salt Lake City, I'm Mike here in St. Peters, Missouri. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Boom. Good stuff. It's hot.
That was awesome. So much fun.
It's the light out there and it's dark here.
Yeah, no, this is great.
It's dark quick now because it was
I
light
know.
and it just got dark fast. That time of year. Wait, appreciate the time. And so when are you guys going down to Disneyland for the Oogie Boogie thing?
So we leave on the 12th of October, and we're just my oldest daughter is she's in college in Southern Utah, and so we just kind of pick her up on the way. Yeah, she's like 3 hours south of us, and so that's why we're always probably going to drive, because we'll pick her up. Yeah, so we try to coordinate now with college breaks and things like that.
You. That's because, like I said, Paige is 27 and Mallory's a sophomore, so she's 15. She'll be 16 in January. God help us.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be kind of sad as kids can't go on these trips. Like I'm not looking forward to who we leave behind now. So.
What it gets though is like with Paige is that, I always book her onto the trip, right? And she never tells me if she can make it until the very last minute, because she's director of basketball operations for a basketball team in Chicago, the University of Illinois, Chicago. And so she really doesn't know, because she has a really intense job, right? She runs this whole basketball program for the university. And so she was able to go for the podcast cruise, but it was only because it was a 4-night cruise. And then she flew home right after that. But like this summer, we're going to do a 7-night cruise on the Fantasy. So I don't know that she'll be able to make that. And the reason we took the cruise, like when we did right at the 4th of July, was because that was dead week for Mallory's cheerleading. Like, because like in the state of Missouri, they have like 2 dead weeks a year where, none of the athletes are allowed to practice. The coaches can't contact them. They have to be off. And that was like the dead week. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I've got kids that have been in competitive dance, and the whole spring is ruined. That's why, we usually wouldn't do a lot of stuff in the spring, because every weekend's a dance competition. So it's hard. I mean, you want to do a lot of this stuff, and scheduling stuff.
Yeah, I try to explain to people, because people because Pam turned 50, a few months back, and like we want to go to Hawaii. Like that's what I'm going to take her to Hawaii, but we don't have any. We can't. Like she's a school teacher for one thing, and
and I'm trying to do all of the states, and so now I on top of that I plan when the race actually is, and so Hawaii is going to be my 50th state, and it's like, when can they have, like, January is the only time they have half marathons out there that I can do. So yeah,
it's hard.
We added that on top of the schedule. Race weekend.
Have you done Missouri yet?
No, but I'm probably going to try to finish everything this year. So I have 17 states left, and I think I'm just going to try and knock them all out in 2024, which is insane because I have a Disney annual pass now too. So, but I found there's a race organizer called Mainly Marathons, and they do like series. Have you heard of them? They'll do a race series that's like 7 states in 7 days. And so you run, So Missouri is part of one of those series where I think I can knock that out. You end up walking a lot when you're doing a marathon every morning. Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of miles in a day. Like, I mean, between running and walking today, I did 23 miles, but.
Right. So a lot of it's, you kind of treat it like training.
Yeah.
And it's a looped course. And so it's just like a 2-mile loop. And so you kind of just run loops, back and forth. So it works.
I kind of like loops because I don't know. I'm like, people hate. I like the stuff people hate. Like I like treadmills and I like loops because I used to do 53 laps around our little lake out there. And people are like, you're insane. I'm like, it's easy because I can put my water bottle on the electrical box and just get a drink every 10 laps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you don't have to plan things out. Sometimes if I do a 10 miler, it's like, okay, someone drop me off 10 miles away.
I'm not 10 miles away. I can see my house every quarter mile, every lap. I can see my house, 53 times. There's my house.
Yeah.
There's my house.
So I think to get the states done, I think that will work out really well. So I'm going to try and do 3 of those next year, which might be a little too much, and sometimes my kids go, like we went to New England last year and did like New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all those little states that are really close together. So you just drive a little bit and then the next morning you drive a little bit. So we did a lot of really fun stuff. So try and make it a good experience for the whole family too, not just me running. So they'd run the 5K and then I'd run the half, so it's fun.
That's good. If you do Missouri and if you do it in the St. Louis area, don't do the St. Louis go one, but it's called
is that one bad?
Don't do that
Yeah,
one, but do
yeah.
Cowbell. It's in St. Charles, it's just right outside of St. Louis, where I live. But the Cowbell is
Okay.
awesome, and that's like in our town where I live, and it's a
When
big.
is that?
Fun one. It's usually in October.
Okay.
I'm not doing it, but I mean, I've done it in the past, and it's awesome. But I'm not doing it this year. I'm lazy. Like, and plus the football team's doing well, so I'm not committing to anything during football season. Like people are like, why are you not doing it? Wine and dine football? That's why. Because
if you have to travel, yeah. See, we can do it. There's local races. They're 20 minutes from me, an hour from me, that we can do all fall long. So Saturday morning, it's like, okay, I'll just go do that race. So we have a lot of running out here. So
yeah, I could do more, but my next race will be the 5K marathon. That's good enough.
Yeah. Well, when you have those goals, everybody kind of has their own goal with running. So if it's like, yeah, make it to Dopey, you got to make it.
I got 6 more in me. It'll be 4 at Dopey, 2 on the West Coast, and then we'll see after that.
I know I thought really hard about, should I do Dopey and Disneyland, and I just decided to do Disneyland. So
well, because I mean, I'll be 50. This will be I turn 50 in November. That'll be my 8th Dopey, my 10th full marathon. And so those are all nice round numbers.
Awesome. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying I won't do like an occasional half marathon, because like those won't kill you. But
half's great. That's why
the backside of a full marathon sucks. Like, it's so terrible. Yeah. I just remember last year I was hating life on the backside of that marathon, like at Coronado Springs. Oh, yeah. It's just like, why did I do this? And I signed up again. So dumb. Like these dumb ears that they give out at the end of the marathon. It's like stupid, because my problem is I'm an idiot, right? Because I've gotten every one of them so far. I was there the first time they gave them out, so I've got every set.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be my last one. Eventually, I'm not gonna be able to get them all, so I just need to just call it a day. Like, stop.
Yeah. So. I love those Disney medals, though.
Yeah, well, they're okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked at your. Well, I won't show you my medal wall. It's obscene. It's just, it's like,
yeah. My wife's like, you got enough. Stop. Yeah, I'm good. All right. Well, I'll see. I gotta go. I'm gonna edit this thing up, and I'll have it out on Monday. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. Take care. Good talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Bye.